And hopefully we are now live on the Bookouture Facebook page, on Lisa Regan's Facebook page, and Angela Marson's Facebook page. Good evening to you both.
Good evening.
Good evening, Kim. Lovely to see you.
You too. And we are international this evening, so it's not just us in the West Midlands tonight, Angie. We're joined by Lisa all the way from the USA.
Yeah, it's afternoon here.
Yeah, lunchtime, is it for you, Liz?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fantastic. So we will see who joins us. Lovely Wendy is here already, so hopefully we will have some other people that pop in and join us this evening. I can see some eyes on the screen. We have Tracy from Canada as well. We're going to have it worldwide this evening, so it should all be good fun. So while people are coming in, I will just let everybody know that we're here tonight to celebrate the wonderful achievements that Lisa and Angie have achieved with their books. They've both Lisa's published recently her 20th book in the Josie Quinn series, and Angie is about to publish next Friday her 20th book in the Kim Stone series. So we thought it'd be a really good opportunity to get the two of you together. And just chat all things crime, thrillers, and just generally have a chat and a cup of tea, really, and say hi to everybody. So,
tea, right? Yeah.
me here too. Lisa, have you got? I did nearly think about gin, but I thought it was a bit early to be honest.
I have, yeah.
Fabulous. So we're all doing a big cheers, but cheers to you too, because what you've achieved is absolutely incredible, and it just blows my mind. I've just handed in my 4th book in the series, and when I think about the fact that you two have kind of got 20 books in the series, that just completely blows my mind. So I just thought it might be nice first to kind of talk about how you keep the series fresh and how you kind of keep coming up with ideas. So I'm going to hand over to you, and can I come to you first, Angie?
Yeah. As I've said before, I mean, I'll try to keep the books based on a subject that, that I want to explore, a subject that interests me. And then I sort of like build a crime story around that subject. And there's always, there's always subjects that interest you. I mean, I only have to watch the True Crime channel for half an hour, and I can think of another 16 subjects that I'd like to write about, and sort of like mix and match all these subjects, and I'll just push that back a bit, I think. Mix and match all these subjects and see where I come out. But yeah, that's where I always get my inspiration from, and sometimes just an overheard conversation, or somebody sharing a story about something they've done or somewhere they've been, and you find inspiration in the strangest of places.
And what about you, Lisa? What do you do to kind of keep things fresh?
Well, it's similar to what Angie said. I have to be really interested in some element of the story in order to write it, because I find if I'm not interested in it, readers won't be interested in it either. And so really, to sum it up, this was interesting to me with my last book, 20, which just came out, as I was getting ready to do the structural edits, and I was meeting with my editor, and she said to me, well, what about this story is the most interesting thing to you? Because that's what we'll focus on. And so it's just something, it could be anything, kind of like Angie said, it could be one line of a conversation. It could be a specific subject to do with solving crimes, or it could be something more subtle, like the dynamics between two people that kind of draws me in and makes me intrigued. And then, I, like Angie said, I try to build the story around that.
And do you think there's a big difference between writing? Obviously, Angie is sort of UK. Your characters are based in the UK and in the Midlands. Lisa, your characters are based in the US. What do you think the difference is between, do you think there's a big difference between US crime and English crime? That's probably a really daft question, but I'm coming to you first, Lisa.
I don't know that there's really a difference anywhere when it comes to the actual crime. What's interesting to me are the differences in procedure, because I work very closely with my law enforcement consultants here to make sure that things are as authentic as they can be. And a lot of times that's really limiting. you know, like I want to send Josie out on her own to confront somebody. And it's like, well, no, you know, police officer worth their salt would go alone. They would bring their team. So to me, it's just really interesting procedurally how things work differently in each country.
And you get, so you've got sort of people that you go to check out those procedures and everything like that?
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. And Angie, what about you?
I think, I mean, so as you know, I read and love Lisa's books, and I think the only thing is we both sort of like making sure that the procedures are as close as they can be. Yeah, I think, we probably both have a little bit of poetic license if there's something that we specifically want to do. But I always enjoy reading about the locations. And how location is used to enhance the story, and I love what Lisa does with that, and I'll try and do it with the Black Country, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy reading about, is how the setting is also used. So I love reading books set in the US. So I love just finding out how the setting is being used to enhance the crime story.
And somebody, Pippa, I've just seen up the thread, has just said, I'm from Stourbridge and I've just been introduced to Angie's books. Where have I been? Where have you been, Pippa?
Yes, Pippa, catch up.
You've got a few to go yet to catch up, Pippa. And then when you've read all of Angie's 20, you can move over to Lisa's 20 then. That's a cracking series as well. That'll keep you busy for a month or two, won't it? So do you both still have like loads of ideas up your sleeve? Angie, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I've got a Kim book, and it's actually under here, and that's it. And anything, and anything that comes up, anything that I think, either for a side story or for a main story, I've written some things in there, thinking it would be a side story, and then the more I've thought about it, it's become a main story. So yeah, I jot things down in there all the time when they come to me, or I might just read something. I'll just write the word down, and one word can become, an entire plot. So yeah, I record everything in my Kim book.
Good. Well, I'm sure Jenny and Ruth are here today, and Jessie is here as well. So I'm sure they'll all be delighted that you've still got lots of ideas up your sleeve. And the same for you, Lisa, I presume.
Yeah, I don't have a notebook, although I love that. I have just this Word document that Jessie and I kind of pass back and forth, and I try to add to it as I can, and we kind of put notes in it every time we look at it, because some of the ideas will at first not seem like they could sustain a whole book, but then the more that you kind of talk about it, then it grows, and what you thought was not sustainable becomes a whole entire book. And other ideas, they seem like they're really developed at first, but then when you try to do an outline, it's just not happening. So, but I have a lot of ideas. There's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of notes, and that document, I feel like, gets bigger every time we pass it back and forth.
Well, as your publisher, we're very happy to hear that, and I'm sure that your readers are here who are here tonight. I'm sure they're delighted to hear that too. So let's go back. Let's go back to right at the very beginning. I know you both have really inspirational stories. And I think the thing that really shines through for me is for both of you, your tenacity and your determination that this was what you wanted to do. So Lisa, if I can come to you first, can you tell us a bit about your author journey and how long it's taken you to kind of get where you are today?
Oh, well, I'm gonna keep it short because it took forever. I don't think as long as Angie's, but no, I've been writing since I was 11 years old. It was always my dream to I never thought kind of past having that book in my hand. That was just my dream, and it took me forever to be able to finish anything. And then when I did, it took me four years to find an agent, and then 6 years to find a publisher. And then shortly after that, that publisher closed. And then I published a couple of things independently, and I kind of bumped around a little bit. And then interestingly enough, I started reading the Kim Stone series, and I was like in love with it. And then I read an article about Angie's journey, And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I felt like I can still get there. I can still, have more successful books than what I've got now. And the reason that I pitched a Bookouture was because of Angie and because of her books. And then, Jessie kind of plucked me out of the slush pile, and I'll always be grateful to her because I feel like she kind of saw my overall talent instead of just rejecting me based on one title. And I still have the first email that she sent me, and I can still remember, like, it was Thanksgiving here, and it was in November, and my daughter was going through a lot of very serious medical issues at the time, and so it was just astounding to me. I got such a thrill when I got that email, and I was just like, oh, I hope that this turns into something. And we kind of went back and forth almost like we do now. And I came up with the Josie Quinn idea, and her name was Vanessa Sloan at the time when I wrote the first draft. And I was like, this is, kind of the biggest opportunity I feel like I've ever had. So I wrote that first book in 3 months, and with the proposals for 2 and 3. And then Jessie offered me that first contract, and we've been going ever since. But I think I signed that contract in 2017. And, before that, it was just, I don't know, it was just years and years and years of kind of trying to claw my way to some kind of stability in the industry and to gather more readers. And I can't believe that I'm here right now.
And what was it, Lisa, that, it's hard, isn't it, to keep going when you've kind of, you've been trying for so long? What was it inside you that just made you keep on going?
Well, there's 2 things I always think about, which is that this thing my dad used to say to me, which is, let them tell you no. And that just meant, don't decide for yourself that you're done. You should make every single person tell you no before you give up. Make them do it. Make them tell you no. And so just keep putting yourself out there no matter what. And then I can remember during my 4-year agent search, there came a point where I was just like, this is never going to happen for me. It's just never going to happen. This is madness. And I can remember my daughter was a toddler, and I had just put her to bed, and I had gotten a pretty bad rejection that day. And I was like, I'm just going to stop, because this is never going to happen. And then I thought, when my daughter grows up, everyone's going to say, oh, your mom, she used to write all the time. She wrote since she was a child. And she's going to want to know, well, what made you stop? And I thought, that's just a conversation I never, ever, ever want to have. So I just would rather keep going and being told no than have to have that conversation with my daughter one day.
Love that. Love it. And Jay, I know you've got, you've had that inside you for so long as well, that you knew it was what you wanted. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey for those who haven't heard that before?
Yeah, I mean, like Lisa, I started writing at a very young age, anything at all. I just enjoyed the process of putting one word in front of another and just seeing where it took me. For people who, watch these often, they'll know that, I used to write down things. I used to write down things like, that my dad had left us. And then I'd explore all my feelings about that, and I'd be in tears and crying my eyes out. He'd only gone to the pub, but I sort of like found something in this, just exploring all the emotion of situations, and so that was pretty much the only thing that I loved to do. I didn't have any training. I didn't go to college. It was just a love of words, a love of reading. Started sending stuff out early 20s, just nothing. It was often the same story. We like it, we just don't love it. And And this was back in the old days where, you know, you'd send off 3 chapters in a stamped addressed envelope. It was a walk to the post office. It wasn't emails. And then the rejections had come back, you know, and land on the doormat. And I would often feel sorry for the postman, who was sometimes bringing 5 to 10 rejections a day. And, you know, they were quite heavy because they'd send the 3 chapters back. And, you know, it was just often the same story. And I'm sure Lisa will agree that those, you know, sometimes you get a personal rejection where you get some pointers. They were like gold. The standard compliment slip, no thanks, absolutely heartbreaking. But then I'd just go to the post office the next day and send off another 20 to agents and publishers, you know, out of the Writers and Artists Yearbook, because I'd always got the logic: if there's nothing out there, then there's no hope. While there's stuff out there, there's always hope that just one, you know. But it's not easy to maintain that. You know, it's hard work, and I've told you before, Julie was completely instrumental in keeping me going, because there's many times that I was like, this is never going to happen, and she was like, it's their loss, it will happen. And I'd say, I don't want to write anymore, put everything in the black bag, shove it in the bin, I don't want to touch it anymore. And she'd be like, okay, just go and sit at your table though, don't pick up a pencil, knowing full well that if there was a pencil and a pad on my table, that I was going to pick it up at some stage, because she said, you're always going to write anyway, whether you get published or not, because it's who you are. It's up to you if you send stuff out, but don't ever stop writing. Don't ever lose that love of writing and making a story. And that kept me going the whole time, you know, until I finally did get an agent. Didn't go so well. But the lady I work with there, Keshni, my fairy godmother, as I do still call her, she left the agency and didn't forget about the Kim Stone books. And it was at the lowest point for Julie and I, where we were selling, excuse me, our possessions to pay the mortgage. And she sent in Silent Scream to Bookouture, and she let me know. And I couldn't even be excited about it, because it was like, I know what the answer's going to be. I know they're going to say, we like it, we just don't love it, and we need to pay the bills. I just got a job working 12-hour night shifts in an alarm centre. And I was like, I don't care. I've just got to get on with this now. And I think it was about 4 days later that Claire sent me an email saying, loving Silent Scream. What are your other ideas? Well, there were 3 books in the series written because of me having been with this agent. And that email, I was looking for the but we don't love it. I'm enjoying it, but we don't love it. But, you know, I was looking for the but, and there wasn't one. And it was at that point I allowed myself to get excited, and I couldn't reply to that email quick enough. I was like this, well, book 2 is this, book 3 is this, and my idea for book 4 is this. And I think it was the following week, I signed a 4-book contract, then another 4, then an 8, and, you know, like Lisa, we just keep going. You send us these contracts, we just keep signing them and sending them back.
Well, you heard that first here, Jenny. Garrus, you know, get those contracts out. It's amazing. And I mean, Jenny's just said that, you know, listening to the 2 of you there, you know, you've got 40 books out between you. Well, you know, 40 books in these 2 series. You know, Angie, I know you've got other books. Lisa, I know you've got other books out as well. You know, I mean, between you, you've probably written, what, 50 books? That's phenomenal.
I think we need a rest meter, don't you?
No, you don't. No, you don't. You're fine. We don't have time for that. Do you feel a pressure each time a book comes up each time you've got a book coming out, to keep coming up with sort of new twists to kind of puzzle the reader? Because you know what readers are like these days. We love you readers, but you're very clever and you do manage to work things out. So, you know, how does that feel? That must be a pressure to keep on delivering all the time. Angie, I'll come to you first.
It is, but it's a pressure because you want the reader to have a great experience. That never goes away, whether it be through the twist or through the characterization or through the storyline or through the subject that you're writing about. You just want the reader to have, you know, a great experience, feel all the emotions that you're trying to, you know, put into the book. So of course the twist is important. And you know, I've started books where I don't even know who the killer is, and I let that come. You know, Julie's got a 4-word motto for me, which is trust in the process. And oftentimes I'll start the book because I'm not a planner. I'll start the book and I don't always know who did it. And sometimes I do know who did it, and then I've changed it, depending on the twist that I want to get at the end. And you always hope that, you know, readers aren't going to guess, and you do your best. So it is a pressure, but an enjoyable one, because it drags the best out of you, where you're trying to be as inventive as you can.
Same for you, Lisa?
Yes, very much. For me, it's kind of a broader thing, which is that I always feel as though I don't want to disappoint the readers. That's like my main objective. I do not want to disappoint you guys, especially when you've been on this journey with me and Josie for so incredibly long. So that's the first thing that I'm always thinking. And then the second thing is that I want to write a better book than I wrote last time, if that's possible. I mean, in terms of, because sometimes some books are easier than others. And there are books that I've sent to Jessie with an email that literally says, this is a dumpster fire. I don't know how we're going to salvage it. And so it's for me, that part is very stressful, because I want to get better with every book. And I can't see it. I don't know if it's happening or not, but I'm trying. And then the twist is very much an issue for me. Although nowadays it's kind of like, it's more of a thing where how much do I give them to try to clue them in, and how much do I hold back? And so that's really, for me, the most stressful thing is are they going to figure this out on page 50? Can I hold it back till page 300? You know, like, how far can I push it without it becoming unbelievable? Because I do want readers to have that feeling, which I love when I read, that when they get to the end and they have that gasp-worthy twist, they think, ooh, I have to go back and look at this again, because I know all those clues were there, but I didn't think they were important at the time.
I also I do have a huge tester, which is, you know, Julie. She, as you know, she types up my handwritten drafts, and if at all possible, I try not to tell her who the killer is or why or whatever. And she knows the books as well as I do. So if she doesn't guess, that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Because she knows the way I write. She knows the way I lay the clues, you know.
Right.
So, you know, if I hear, oh my God, or worse, and there has been worse, you know, then I think, great, we should be okay then. But if Julie guesses it, then, you know, we have work to do.
Tracy has just said, I've not read any of Angela's writing, and I've only heard of Angela today. Any suggestions on where to start? Now, that question stresses me out a little bit, because anybody who knows me knows that you have to start at book 1 in the series, and then you have to read book 2 and then book 3. But you don't have to actually do that, because you can jump in wherever you want. But would you recommend that people go right back to the beginning of your series, ladies? Lisa, can I come to you first?
I can hear my my assistant friend Maureen cringing all the way across the world. I think, like, each book has its own mystery. So for me, you could pick up any one of them. However, there's a major spoiler in book 3. So, and you'll know it after that, like every other book after that. So if you want the element of surprise, you could read from book 1 to 3, and then you would know the huge spoiler. On the other hand, you know, one of the benefits of reading the series in order, and my long-term readers will tell you this, is that if you care about the personal lives of the series regular characters, then you're going to get a lot more out of it if you read them in order.
And Angie?
Definitely. I think the same. You know, the books are standalone crime stories, but the character development and interaction does happen, you know, from book one. I wrote the prequel, I think it was around book 12 time, and I would still read the prequel there as opposed to at the beginning, because there are questions that have built up over those 12 books that you get the answers to in the prequel, First Blood. So personally, I would always say with mine is Silent Scream, and to read them in the order that they were written.
And because it doesn't stress me out when people read them in the order that they're written. We have a big discussion. Yeah. We have a big discussion about it at our book club, and if people go, well, I jumped in at book 3, and I'm like, oh my God, book 3? Can't do that. Deb has asked a really interesting question, and it was kind of something that I was going to touch on anyway. You both bring up sort of really hard-hitting topics in your books. How do you stop that affecting you? Does it affect you? You know, you are covering really intense subjects and some really disturbing subjects as well. Angie, can I come to you? You know, is that something that affects you, and how do you deal with that?
I think, yeah, it can do. It can do. One of the worst books that affected me was book 6 in the series, Dead Souls, which was primarily about racism, and reading a lot of personal stories and accounts of experiences. It made me so angry at the injustice of you know, what people have to put up with through race, sex, age, all the isms, as I call them. And that book probably caused me to step away from the desk and cool down more than any other, you know, that I've written. So, yeah, it can do. It can really affect you, because you're reading real stories, real experiences. And, you know, while you're thinking, it's the same with anything, while you think something's a story, it's okay. But when you're reading that, you know, what is actually happening to people for, you know, such ridiculous reasons, that, you know, so I suppose learning more about the bigotry and ignorance that exists, that did quite affect me. I think they all leave a bit of a mark on you. But for me, it was definitely Dead Souls that caused me to step away more often.
Lisa?
Yeah, every book for me has some kind of element, like Angie said, it leaves a mark on you. So it's just like overall, I can get very kind of down and depressed. Like my husband is great for this, because I mean, he'll have me laughing in 2 seconds flat. I come out of the writing cave. I feel so depressed, and he kind of lifts me up every time. So does my daughter. Other than that, it's like puppy videos and Mr. Phillip, and I watch Friends a lot. But for me, and if you've read my books, you'll know, like, one of the kind of subjects that I'm really obsessed with is this idea of mothering and bad mothers and all the ways that parenting can go wrong. And so for me, just kind of across all the books, you'll see that theme throughout. And that is kind of the thing that really gets under my skin. And just kind of like turn that on its head. In book 11, we have, it's a very kind of sensitive subject, especially here in the US, that these parents who have children that have, you know, mental health issues to the point where they're capable of violence. And there's not enough services for these families. And the services that are there are extremely hard to access. Often if they can even afford it, they have to send their children to another state, extremely far away. You know, and there's the issue of insurance here. They're not guaranteed any treatment for these kids who desperately need help. And so as a parent, these mothers and fathers are really stuck in an impossible situation, because they are afraid that their children are capable of violent things, but they love their children, you know, the same way I love my child. And so that was really tough writing book 11, that part of it, because I did a lot of research. I talked to a lot of parents, and it was just heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. That was took me a long time to get over.
On that note, let's ask a fun question. In fact, firstly, I'm going to just say somebody's, Carrie has commented here to say, I stumbled over Angie's books whilst in hospital. I'm now eagerly awaiting for the new book next week. And as Angie knows, I even have a daughter desperate to start them who dressed as Kim for World Book Day. How cool is that?
It was amazing. And honestly, I get some great messages and some great photos, but that one was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. And I did ask permission to be able to post it on my social media, which it made my day. It absolutely made my day.
Amazing. So something that I've just written down here as I was listening to both of you. You've both obviously got quite vivid imaginations. Do you both dream a lot? Lisa?
Oh, all the time, constantly. Okay. And most of the time in the dream, I'm aware that it's a dream. Almost I'm like, this is weird. So I have very vivid dreams almost every night. Yeah.
Do you, Angie?
No, not excessively. I'm not. No. I mean, when I do, they're always weird. But no, I'm not an excessive. No, not an excessive dreamer, to be honest. No.
Interesting. Now, Mark at work, Mark who pays the wages. Mark, lovely Mark, who everybody loves because he's the one who pays.
We love Mark. Yeah, we love Mark.
Mark suggested today that we do a one-off Kim Stone / Josie Quinn collaboration, a bit like a transatlantic Cagney and Lacey, he said. So, what do you think about that? And how do you think the two detectives, how do you think Josie and Kim would work together? Lisa?
I mean...
Oh, go on.
No,
Ange, go on.
I think we only had a joke about this, didn't we, recently? And we were like, they absolutely would not work together very well at all. No, neither of us could see that. We think that they're possibly just a little bit too alike, but we did have a chuckle about that recently. So it's funny that Mark said that.
I thought that because he asked me as well, because I said I absolutely loved Cagney and Lacey, and he asked me which one I wanted to be, and I said the blonde one, of course. What is the most unusual or interesting or gross thing that you've ever come across in your research, Lisa?
So this is probably the most interesting. Is I had gone out with Pennsylvania search and rescue dogs on one of their training operations. And so I followed them, basically. They hid their intern in a ravine. And then one of their dogs scented the handle of her car. And then we just I just followed them as the dog went and found her. And then the other dog was certified in I always say this word wrong, cadaver finds. And so I followed Chuck was the handler and his dog. I followed them through the whole entire exercise. And it was like amazing. This is so cool. I spent the whole day. My daughter was with me. And then I get to the end of the day and I'm like, wait, Chuck, you said you put human remains out there for the dog to find. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, you just have human remains? And I asked him and his wife, well, like, where does one get human remains? And without missing a beat, his wife said, bone.com. And apparently there is a place for, I guess, search and rescue dogs where they can access human remains for the purposes of training. They did also tell me that a lot of times law enforcement will kind of help them out with that because, how else will you train your dogs if you don't have what you need? But that was really interesting to me. And especially since we went the whole entire day and it never occurred to me that, they were using human remains.
Wow, that's kind of blown my mind a little bit, to be honest. And Angie, what's the most gross, interesting, or revolting, or whatever?
I think it's not one particular thing, but I think it's just generally when I was researching for book 4, Play Dead, which is about a body farm. Researching sort of like, the real body farm over in Lisa's neck of the woods, and what the bodies were used for, and the different experiments and results. And I did look at all kinds of photos, and that's probably the most gruesome and interesting, to be fair, research that I've done for any of the books. So there were some things I kind of went, oh God, kind of wish I could unsee that one. But yeah, so we, burnt bodies and the constriction and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that was pretty gruesome.
It's very much so. Okay, so let's lighten it up again. Lisa Regan, what would Josie's karaoke song be?
Oh, wow. Oh, the instant thing that comes to my mind is Are You Ready For It by Taylor Swift. That's probably not right, but I just think like that whole Are You Ready For It? Because Josie will crush you if you're a criminal. Even though it's actually a love song, but I love that song. I just think it kind of fits her.
Good answer. Angie?
I'm going to go way back decades.
I was just going to say, I just think you two are doing so well tonight because I haven't told you any of these questions. I'm just throwing everything at you tonight. So well done.
Yeah, I think for Kim it would be I Did It My Way. So I'm going way back, but I think that would suit her perfectly.
Fantastic. I love that. So going back to your writing process, do you both edit as you go along, or do you write sort of a really messy first draft and then go back to the beginning and kind of go through it and then make sense of it all? And in that same sort of question, what's your favourite part of the whole process of writing a book? So Angie, I'll come to you first, if I may.
I'm a complete and utter splurger. I don't look back at all. I just keep going forward. I leave myself little notes saying this is absolutely abysmal. I don't know why I leave myself a note, because surely I'm going to know it's abysmal when I come to look at it again. So I'm not sure why I need to tell myself that it's absolutely crap. But I just keep going forward, letting the momentum carry me, because I handwrite. It's often difficult anyway to keep up with what's going on in my head because I'm doing it like that. So I'm just trying to keep moving forward, and then I worry about it, everything else on the second, third draft, but definitely on the first, it's just splurge out, leave myself notes as I go of things that I want to, get more information on, or something I think I've missed, and just keep going forward. And that is still my favourite part of the process, is writing the first draft.
And Lisa, are you a splurger?
Mostly I am, but I've gotten in this habit now where if I decide to change something that I know will need to be kind of layered in the first part that I've already written, a lot of times I will stop and just go back and do that, because it just bothers me now. I can't not do it. If it's something really minor where I only need to add a line or two, I'll just leave myself a note. But if I say change the career of a character and they've suddenly become more important to the plot, I'll go back in and try to make that consistent throughout what I've already written. But for the most part, the drafts are extremely messy and terrible, and and I leave myself notes too as well. Like even if it's just something like, this is not the right word, I don't know what it is, but this is not it. Or I'll put a little note that says this needs more description, that kind of thing. My favorite part now is the feeling that I get when I finish my structural edit and I feel that the book is so much better than the original draft that I turned in. It's kind of like when all the really hard stuff is over and I start to feel like the book is less of a dumpster fire and and more something that readers will really enjoy reading.
Who would you want to play Kim in a TV series, and if that was ever to happen?
Well, I've always said, the person in my head when I write about Kim is Kate Beckinsale. Probably not so much how she looks now, but certainly how she looked when I started writing the series. A lot of people think that Vicky McClure from Line of Duty would be a perfect Kim Stone. I can't say that I disagree. So yeah, I think that she would be a great Kim Stone.
And Lisa, who'd make a great Josie?
Oh, I've always thought either Alexandra Daddario or Victoria Pedretti. I think they would be great. But for me, it's more of a quality that an actor has to have that would embody Josie. It's just almost wouldn't care about race or ethnicity or the way she looks as so much as I would care that she's able to bring that kind of grittiness and vulnerability to Josie on screen.
How much of Lisa Regan is there in Josie?
The not cooking thing, the inability to cook, that's pretty much it. I am not allowed in the kitchen unless I am taking the meal that my husband cooked, because it's a disaster. I don't enjoy it. I'm not great at it. So that is 100% true story. Other than that, I mean, the stubbornness for sure, but I'm not nearly as courageous or hardcore as Josie is. Like I always say to my husband, like, she runs toward the danger, and for me, and I would just scream for him. That's my strategy. So it's the stubbornness and the inability to cook is pretty much it.
And how much Angela Marsons is there in Kim Stone?
Very little, and I have to say, but I must say I do have slightly better social skills than Kim Stone. So now I think a lot of people message me about Kim Stone and say, I wish I was a bit more Kim Stone. And that makes sense to me as well. I suppose through the books I have her act in a way that if I was in the situation, that's how I would like to act. I'd like to act with that level of confidence and couldn't care less attitude. So now there's very little, but like I say, I think I agree with a lot of the readers that say I wish I was a bit more Kim.
I had that thought too when I read those books.
And there's lots of requests for book tours in America here, so I think we should organise that as well. Obviously, as the publicity director, I would have to come with you and make sure you two behave for the evening. We could do that. We could hire a camper van, and I could drive you two around.
Wrangle us.
And then you could write in the back as we go in, as I'm driving you along. Because we wouldn't want to stop you working or anything, would we?
I think there's a plot for a story there, to be honest.
Yes, there is.
So if Kim and Josie weren't in the police force, what would they be doing? Angie?
Oh, I think if Kim wasn't in the police force, I think that I can't think of another career that would suit her, to be honest. But I think if she hadn't have found the police force, given her past and background, I don't think she'd be anywhere positive. Because given what she went through and all the things, that make her who she is, she could have gone very bad ways indeed. So I think if she wasn't a police officer, I honestly think she'd be some kind of drug addict or something, because I think the police force gave her that focus in life. So I honestly can't think of another career, and I can't think of any other career that, she wouldn't have been sacked from. I mean, she should have been sacked from the police force, to be honest, but, she's pretty good at what she does, so they keep her around. So I'm not sure everybody would think the same.
Well, I nearly said she'd make a really great doctor's receptionist, but I might offend people who are listening who might be doctor's receptionists, because you are all lovely people, honestly. Lisa, what would Josie be?
Oh, that's really tough. Because I kind of agree with Angie that Josie that's kind of what she's made for. And again, it just her character, I don't think had as traumatic a childhood as Kim Stone, but she she's a borderline alcoholic in the beginning of the series as it is, and she is a police officer. But I think maybe a private eye, although in Pennsylvania you can't do that unless you've been on law enforcement. But nothing would stop her from moving somewhere where you wouldn't need to do that. That's the only thing that comes to mind, because I think her natural curiosity about things would be too big for her to contain.
Somebody just said, could Kim not be a mechanic considering her love for bikes?
Well, I mean, she could, but it's a fact that she doesn't like being told what to do. So in any career choice, that's going to be a problem. But yeah, that could work. That could work.
She does like a medal, doesn't she? If you didn't write crime, ladies, what other genre would you like to write? And I'll come to you first, Lisa.
Oh, I can't imagine writing anything else. I always say this. I would love to write a fantasy series, but I have no ideas. And I don't read a lot of fantasy, but I guess the reason it appeals to me is because there would be no research involved, because you would be making everything up. And so that's why I would say that, because the crime fiction genre is, for me, it requires a lot of research. And I always like the idea that you could write something with total abandon and not have to worry about any of that. And fantasy seems like the place that would happen.
Angie?
I think, like Lisa said, I can't imagine writing anything other than crime. It's just the way, I think Lisa's the same. It's just the way our brains work. It's where we go. In the early days, I wrote a couple of women's fiction that are also published by Bookouture, and it's always, they're still covering a dark, emotional subject. So I always seem to have to go there. But that's when an idea comes and I just need to explore it. It's not that I have lots of ideas for that kind of book. The ideas I have tend to be for crime. But probably, sort of like serious women's fiction type titles, really.
And what do you ladies like to read in your spare time, and what's kind of inspired you across, over the years? I know you're both big readers. What kind of inspired you, or who inspired you to want to be a crime writer? And what sort of things are you reading, and what are you reading right now? Lisa?
I pretty much read almost entirely within my own genre. I don't, it's just like Angie said, that's where my mind lives, and that's what fascinates me. The only kind of outlier is that I have two friends who write romance, Katie Metner and Dana Mason, and I just love their books, so I will always read them. But otherwise, it's completely crime fiction centered. Every so often I'll pick something up, usually because my daughter wants me to read it, or if something just kind of appeals to me in spite of the fact that it's not in my genre. So The Midnight Library was one of those books, which I loved. And then I can't get the title right, but it was the Evelyn Hugo book. My daughter and I read that.
Yeah, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Yeah, brilliant book.
We love that. I'll never say no to anything. I'll try anything, because to me, if a book is good, it's good. But it's mostly crime fiction. And what I'm reading right now, again, I'm terrible with this, but I cannot remember the title, but it's the newest book by Wanda Morris, and it's in the crime fiction genre.
Cool. And Angie?
Very similar. Lots of books in and authors in the crime genre, also psychological thrillers, a few, definitely a few from Bookouture, but and others as well. And then for a change, I like as you know, Kim, I like me a good old Renita de Silva book, which completely takes me away from anything else, and just puts me in a completely different land with wonderful stories. I'm not reading anything at the moment because I tend not to be able to read while I'm writing the first draft.
Mhm.
And I'm on first draft at the moment. So while I'm doing that, it foggies my, my brain. There's only limited space up here. So, I tend not to read very much while I'm actually writing the first draft.
And what about TV? I mean, Lisa and I were talking while we were just waiting for you to pop on earlier, because I was drinking out of my Ted Lasso mug, which I love Ted Lasso. What do you love to watch on the telly, Lisa?
Well, I mean, so over here it's baseball season, so pretty much every night the only thing I'm watching is the Philadelphia Phillies. But when it's not baseball season, my husband and I will just kind of try to pick something that we think we'll get hooked on. We love Ted Lasso. We watched Masters of the Air a couple months ago. Shrinking was really good. We try to keep it light if we can, although we both loved Game of Thrones. And like, my husband's a huge history buff, so anything like Masters of the Air, we'll give it a try.
Cool. And Angie, you got any recommendations for us?
I'm a complete and utter reality TV junkie. All of the Real Housewives, all of the Below Deck franchises, anything like that. I mean, we've even watched some again, Married to Medicine, all of those. We absolutely love them. Also true crime dramas and, documentaries on Netflix and Line of Duty, Happy Valley, that kind of thing. So quite a cross section. Not romance. Not romance.
I do love Bridgerton, though. Very strange for me, but I do love it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. You need a bit of rom-com in your life, ladies. That's what you need. You need to lighten up, girls. So there are people here tonight who have kind of learnt, people who are Lisa fans that have learnt about Angie, and Angie fans that have learnt about Lisa. So if you could take a couple of minutes, Lisa, to tell us about your series for people that have never picked up a Josie Quinn book, what would you like to tell them?
Josie is a female detective in a small fictional city in central Pennsylvania. She is the first female detective on the Denton City PD ever in the history of the city. When you meet her in book 1, she's very angry and abrasive and very hard-headed and stubborn, and is not really good at dealing with her emotions. And a lot of people have trouble tolerating her in that first book, but I put her there in the first book so that she would have a lot of room to grow. So every book after that, every case that she solves after that changes her in some way, so that the character that you meet in book 1 is not at all the character that you will meet in book 20. And that was really important to me, to show her growth over time and her working through her trauma. And really the most important thing you need to know about Josie is that she is horribly, massively stubborn, and she cannot look the other way if she thinks something is unjust. She'll do everything she possibly can to make sure that justice is served, often at her own peril. So she's just like a dog with a bone. She can't let go, even when she knows that she should. And I think that can make things pretty entertaining sometimes.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And Angie, for those who have not yet met Kim, tell us a bit about Kim and the gang.
Yeah, she's a detective inspector in the West Midlands Police, and she starts off in book 1 as brash, brusque, rude, no social skills. And you know what? By book 20, she hasn't changed a whole lot, to be fair. She still most of those things. But, over the books, we have small elements of growth. There have been moments, very similar that, she's always on the side of the underdog. She does care about people. She doesn't admit it to them, and she very often doesn't admit it to herself. So in some way, her team has become kind of a makeshift family, and the rest of the team all bring an element to her that actually do make them kind of a family. So, you know, she's not as bad as she was, but she's not a great deal different, to be fair.
But we love them both. We love Josie and we love Kim, and your readers, absolutely. The comments that are coming through tonight are just incredible for both of those main characters. So congratulations to you both. We've chatted for an hour, believe it or not. I can chat to you all night, but I know that you've probably got other things to do. Lisa, congratulations on the 20th book in the series, which is Her Dying Secret, which came out on the 14th. I know that we've shared your author story, and I will share in the comments. We've shared your author story, so if people do want to read more about sort of in depth about yourself, they can find that on our website, and I will share it again in the comments here. Angie, I probably haven't told you yet, but we're going to share yours next week too.
Okay. Cool.
I kind of knew that you'd say okay anyway, so because you're very good at doing as you're told.
So Julie says.
Congratulations on Guilty Mothers, which is the 20th book in your series. That's out next Wednesday. It's been a blast to be on the journey with both of you right from the very start. We're so proud to publish you. We're delighted that we still have you all these years on, and here's to the next 20 for each of you, if not more. And thank you so much for joining me this evening, for giving up your time, Lisa for giving up your lunchtime, Andrew for giving up your evening. I think we've done really well because we've all got dogs and not one of them has barked all the way through this, which is great.
Yeah,
absolutely. But love to all the dogs, love to all the people that have come along and joined us tonight. We've had a phenomenal audience here. We've had some amazing comments. So thank you all for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to see you all.
And lovely to see you again, Lisa.
And you.
Absolutely. Angie and Lisa, if I can just get you to stay where you are for 2 minutes, but we will say good night to everybody else. And once again, thank you so much to everybody for joining us. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye. Bye.